after Donatella, can Versace stay on top? For decades, Donatella Versace wasn't just the face of Versace, she was its heartbeat. But now the unthinkable has happened. She's stepping down, marking the end of an era for one of the most fashion's iconic houses. So what happens next? Can Versace survive without the woman who kept it alive after Gianni's tragic death? And more importantly, can it stay on top in a world where luxury fashion is more cutthroat than ever? Let's break it all down. As always, I will tell you the whole story. It was somewhere in 1940 that Antonio met Francesca. They ate their gelato in the Greek-style streets of Calabria and they fell in love. Their first child was Tina. After a few years, they had a baby boy called Santo. On December 2nd, 1946, Francesca, who was a seamstress, gave birth to a chubby brunette little baby, Gianni Versace, and at the end, to complete this family portrait, they had a blonde girl named Donatella. Tina, Gianni's older sister, dies young from tetanus. I'm afraid in the 50s, the world was a very different place. So now, if you step on a rusty nail, they will rush you to the hospital and they will give you the shot and you're gonna be safe. But back then that was not the case. So Gianni grows very close with his brother Santo, but also with his mother, with whom he shared a common passion, the creation of clothes. As soon as he finishes school, Gianni goes to work in his mom's seamstress shop. His mom was the owner of a business, so she had several seamstresses under her roof. It wasn't that she was doing the clothes alone. In 1972, Gianni decided to move to Milan to learn the job alongside other designers and spread his wings. That's how he started working as a freelancer for various houses in Milan, like Jenny, Callahan, Complies. In 1978, he released his first collection and he's opened his first boutique in Via della Spiga in Milan, historical street. Today, in the same streets, you will find Ralph Lauren, you will find Longchamp, Canada Goose, and other premium brands. As soon as the business is up and running, he calls his brothers and asks them to give everything up and to go up to Milan to help. Like, hey Sando, hey Donatella, you're coming to Milan. I have a brilliant idea to build an empire. This is exactly what happened. Sando and Donatella moved to Milano to help out their brother. They dropped everything they were doing. Sando becomes the company's CEO and Donatella is a co-designer and vice president. He didn't have his family on a salary, they created something together. And I'm very sentimental with people building great things with their family and friends and spouses, because there is this huge trend going around on social media, especially on TikTok, that you shouldn't share your ideas and you shouldn't share your plans and never mix family with business, keep your friends out of your dreams, be private, don't trust anyone. I love those stories that prove that there is good in people out there, and groups of people, they can always make bigger things. Anyway, in the 80s and the 90s, Versace builds his signature style, his empire. His collections were glamorous, they were sexy, they were colorful, especially during the 80s. That explosion of color, the kind that overwhelms your senses, almost blinding with light and joy. Borderline too colorful for me. To be perfectly honest, not everyone loves the style of Versace. Many critics think that the clothes he makes are a bit vulgar, a bit lowbrow, a little bit tacky or cheap. You see, these golden Baroque designs and the Medusa logos, they're not for everyone. He chose the Medusa to be his logo from the very first show. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that Gianni had started studying ancient Greek history and language and he dropped it. I don't blame him. Ancient Greek language is not the easiest thing to learn. Take it from a Greek. But he had a love of the history and the architecture of the Greeks, so he chose a mythological creature to represent his brand, the Medusa. Let's now look at a good example of how a creator have a vision about a brand versus the marketing company's view. If you look for the reason he chose the Medusa, he will tell you the myth about this woman that when men looked at her, they would instantly fall in love with her. And there was no way back. It was forever. So he wanted people to fall in love with the brand forever. The marketing department, on the other hand, they said the company, the Medusa, symbolizes wealth, beauty, and power. Stop ruining fashion, bring back the romance. It was to fall in love, not to represent wealth. He designed the Medusa himself, and the truth is, with the means they had back then in 1978, counterfeit was not as easy to produce, and it was very easily recognizable. Being a recognizable fashion brand was a very important factor in the 80s and the 90s. Trends were different from today that we're now trying to avoid the big logos. During his prime, he had met many celebrities. His Milan fashion shows were more reminiscent of a music concert than a traditional catwalk. Elton John, Madonna would never miss the show, and of course the top models of the era. Anna Wintour, fashion's Iron Lady, has given him credit for the marriage of fashion and celebrity lifestyle that defined the entire fashion industry in the 90s. Only he understood the value of having well-known actresses and singers in the front row of his fashion shows. He also met such great photographers as Helmut Newton, Bruce Weber, and Steven Meisel, and of course his beloved Richard Avedon. These photographers, as one imagines, want to work with the creme de la creme of models. Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, Cindy Crawford, Christy Turlington, who were paid exorbitant fees to do editorials, campaigns, and Versace catwalks. Gianni did not solely focus on fame or the sexy and revealing dresses. He was a true artist. A testament to that is that he expanded in creating ballet costumes. He had made costumes for various ballet performances from 1982 until 1989, winning many theater awards. He also got an American Fashion Oscar in 1993. I don't have many information about this Oscar thing. It was very confusing, but I found it in many sources. At the same time, he was making costumes for Tina Turner, and of course his friends with Madonna and Elton John, and everyone loved how beautifully he would encapsulate the glam of the stage with his clothes. He caused a media frenzy around 1994, steering both magazines and tabloids alike. Hugh Grant, with a fantastic British sexy accent, presented his film 4 Weddings and a Funeral. It was a masterpiece? No. Is it relevant? Also no. In the premiere of this movie, of course he came out with his girlfriend. At the time, Hugh Grant was dating a goddess, Elizabeth Hurley. She was just so beautiful. Back then, she was not as famous as she is today. That's why we say that she was Hugh Grant's girlfriend. Her fame skyrocketed later. As they were dating, of course she was dating the leading actor, she had to be in an all eyes on me situation. She wore a form-fitting, body-hugging dress with a plunging neckline and with almost reached her navel, showcasing her bold confidence, but the real showstopper, the dress was held together with gold safety pins. Yes, safety pins. Strategically placed at the sides and around the thigh-high slit, adding an edgy, almost rebellious twist to this glamour. The slit itself was high and dramatic, flashing her leg as she walked. The low cut back revealed just enough to leave a lasting impression. This dress can easily be worn today. Gianni Versace had a fascination with other items, not just fashion. He had a love for furniture, kitchenware, towels, and countless other items, all emblazoned with the iconic Versace logo. In fact, you could practically build an entire fortune with Versace collections alone, an entire household as a dowry. In 1992, he bought a villa on Miami's east side, a lavish property he shared with his partner Antonio D'Amico. The two of them were inseparable from 1982 until Gianni's tragic death. Despite their close relationship, Gianni and Antonio lived in a time where their sexuality had to be kept private. In true Italian family fashion, the Versace family especially worked to conceal Gianni's personal life, preferring to maintain a certain level of secrecy around his sexuality for many years. In 1993, he was diagnosed with an ear cancer, and through the cancer tests, they realized that he was also a carrier of the HIV virus. He took his diagnosis seriously. There have been numerous celebrities who were diagnosed with HIV, and they eventually got AIDS and died, so he got a bit scared. Today, HIV is no longer a deadly virus, if treated, thank God. He slowly transferred everything to Donatella, fearing that he's running out of time. He overcame the illness only to lose his life because of a lunatic. On July 15, 1997, he went for a usual morning walk. When there was a little convenience store, he was buying the latest issue of Vogue and the New York Times, and a small coffee place near his neighborhood that he was buying coffee from. It was a little ritual of his. He used to sit by the pool and read and enjoy a quiet breakfast before the world wake up. What he didn't know was that this was the last time he would be able to enjoy another morning. Andrew Cunanan, a 27-year-old man, pulls out a gun and executes him in cold blood on the steps of his estate. Gianni was found lying on the floor covered in blood. His slippers were still on the steps when his body was removed from the scene. Really grim and really not fair. Soon the Miami's paparazzis had gathered at the house to take pictures of the scene, and the killer had managed to flee. The police were trying to figure out what had happened. It was Andrew's fifth target. The shooter, Andrew, was a seemingly quiet kid from San Diego, but later his life turned upside down. He was divorced by the love of his life. He was abandoned by his sugar daddy. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's just funny. He had an obsession to become famous, and on the top of all that, he thought he was infected with HIV. His autopsy later on showed he didn't even have the virus, but he, believing that somebody had contracted it, acquired a terrible dislike for gay men, himself, and life overall. He started the murders and somehow managed to get away from the police every single time, and his megalomania and his paranoia pushed him to try to achieve fame by having a famous target. So Versace has become openly gay at this point. He thought this was the ticket to make headlines, killing Versace. So he killed him out of sheer jealousy for his life. He didn't know him personally. They haven't exchanged a single word. That's why I'm saying it's so unfair. Andrew never passed psychological tests to be classified as a sociopath, but he did show many symptoms. He's not considered now to be a serial killer, but a spree killer, since he didn't make a thorough plan. He just committed 5 random murders in a span of 4 to 5 months. Gianni Versace's funeral was exceptionally tragic because of the cause of death, his age, how loved he was, how unfair it was. The fashion world really loved him. At the funeral, poor Elton John was inconsolable. Next to him, Princess Diana was trying to comfort him. We know that this is Diana's default setting, let's say, as she was naturally a very caring person. It was a public outpouring of grief. Not only he was loved among celebrities, but it is said that he was a very humble man who would seen hanging out with the rich and famous of Miami one day, and the next day he would hang out with the baker of his neighborhood. He was such a plain and simple guy in his way of life. At the time of his death, the company was already worth $807 million. And since he had already made a will, it wasn't hard to see who would get the spread. He left 20% of his fortune to Donatella, 30% to his big brother, who continued to be the owner and CEO of the company. since the beginning, and then 50% he left it to his niece Allegra, Donatella's daughter, who was 11 years old when her favorite uncle was murdered. Coming of age, she became a member of a board of a company of $800 million. This is not easy for any 18-year-old. And she was not a big fan of the idea. She didn't like it at all. Apparently, the child had been traumatized by the loss of her beloved uncle. She's now 38 years old, but we're talking about her on her 18th birthday. She had a pretty recognized mother, and after what happened, she was afraid for her life and her mother's life too. She did not want to be famous, and that makes perfect sense. It's very reasonable after going through all that, if you ask me, not to be out there in the world. She did not want to be this famous Miami rich girl because she was born in fame and she didn't value it as much as people that are trying now to be famous. As Donatella was in grief, barely able to process what has just happened, opportunists cycled like sharks, hoping to snatch up Versace at a bargain price, assuming she'd surrender. But she refused them all. Gianni built this company, they had worked as a family for years, and to her, family is not something you sell. Kudos to Donatella. On a lighter note, did you know that we owe Google Images and Google Lens to Donatella? Yes, we do, because of the green Versace dress Jennifer Lopez wore in 2000s. Do you remember that bold, open front, jungle green dress she brought back last year in the honor of the original look? Well, it shattered every Google search record at the time. It was exactly why Google realized they need an image search function. So they introduced that because of this Versace dress. But for Donatella, things were not looking very easy. No matter what we say, fashion is a man's game. Very few female designers earned the respect of their male counterparts. Still to this day, most of fashion CEOs are men. And no matter how much she created, and no matter how great her designs were, the brand held steady, but people kept saying, it's just not Versace. It's a shame because she was working in Versace from day one. It's crazy. The crazy part is that loads of the designs that we see as Versace, we cannot be sure if they designed by her brother or her. There are so many designs that they're here already, but haters gonna hate anyway. The loss of her brother cost her dearly. They worked together from children, spending all day together, but a typical beloved Mediterranean family. She did not take his death very well. She began skiing in a crazy amount, like she became addicted to snow and pills, and it is even said that on Allegra's 18th birthday, she had a frenzy in the middle of the party. She was saying some crazy shit, she got in the car, they lost her, and they were looking for her everywhere. Mayhem. It was really, really bad. Elton John takes a plane from London, goes to New York, gathers family and friends. It's time for an intervention. That's enough. You are going to rehab. Imagine how Gianni would feel if he sees you being such a mess and waste his money on snow. This conversation is completely fictional. Of course, I wasn't there, but something like that probably have happened. So Donatella went to rehab and she returned a new woman. As the years went by, cracks began to show in the empire. By 2013, sales had plummeted and Versace hadn't delivered anything truly groundbreaking in years. Bored with the stagnation, Donatella knew she needed help to keep the brand from fading away. In 2018, Versace was sold to Capri Holdings for $2.2 billion, with a deal that allowed them to retain $176 million in stock, ensuring some level of control. What followed was the revival of the brand, refreshed signature Medusa logo, refreshed designs. They rebranded to appeal to a younger, trend-conscious audience. In September 2021, Versace and Fenty had a groundbreaking collaboration, a project titled The Swap. This unique concept featured 2 collections with each brand's creative director stepping into the other world. So Kim Jones Fendi, artistic director, reinterpreted Versace's bold aesthetic through his own vision, while Donatella Versace put her own spin in the Fendi's signature style. It was an unprecedented moment. It has never happened before that 2 artistic directors would fully swap houses to create a collection. It was really brilliant. I really loved it. Later that year, to mark the 10th anniversary of Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation, Versace launched a special collection with proceeds going to Gaga's foundation. The initiative aimed to support youth mental health and help build a world where young people can express their true selves freely without fear or judgment. In 2023, Versace and Dua Lipa collaborated on the La Vacanza women's wear collection unveiled at the Cannes Film Festival. There was a See Now, Buy Now show in the French Riviera inspired by the obsession of Donatella with the summer. The collection's thematic motif is a reimagined ladybug and butterfly print from the Versace archives. It was chosen by Dua Lipa. Essentially, both of them love butterflies, and they also had signature Medusa and Greca jewelry and hand-painted pieces and crystal details, and it was a beautiful collection. Go check it out. Last year, June 2024, Donatella was honored as the Grand Officer of the Order of Merit of the Italian Republic, recognizing her significant contributions to Italian fashion and culture. She decided to retire in March 2025. She announced it on Instagram, and alongside this announcement, she also announced the new creative director who's going to be taking over from her. It's Dario Vitale. Dario Vitale is taking over to become the brand's chief creative officer as of the 1st of April 2025. Vitale's debut collection will be the first in Versace's 47-year history that is not creatively overseen by either Gianni or Donatella Versace. She will rename in a business as a chief brand ambassador because this brand has been her whole life, and I assume it's difficult to let go, but she will step down. There's a lot of buzz right now about Capri Holdings possibly trying to sell Versace. After last year's failed merger with Tapestry, Tapestry is this company that owns Coats and Kate Spade and other premium brands. There was some FTC blockings around $8.5 billion deal over competition concern. Capri has been under a lot of pressure. Now, reports are swirling that both Versace and Jimmy Choo are up for the grabs, with Prada Group rumored to be one of the interested buyers. I hope this episode is with you before the deal is sealed, but I'm speculating that these rumors are true based on the fact that Donatella selected to appoint as a creative director Dario, who had worked under the creative stewardship of Miuccia Prada for 14 years. Since the word got out that Dario was departing from Miu Miu, there had been rumors that he was a top contender for Bottega Veneta and Gucci, among other brands. Gucci is now with Demna Gvasalia. Don't even. Dario has played a big role in Miu Miu's stellar growth. The brand's retail sales were up 93% in 2024. So for me, it makes sense if Prada Group wants to have somebody he trusts as a creative director to appoint them. We saw that in Valentino when Alessandro Michele was appointed by Venturini, the CEO of Gucci, because they worked together for almost 12 years. So if you have people that you trust, having them in key position can make the transition smoother. And that was the end of my little story for Gianni, Donatella and Dario. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, leave a comment, share it, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, see ya.